Hi everybody, this is Simon Ward from TheTriathlonCoach.com, and we are the official coaches for this year's Outlaw Triathlon. So, you guys have all entered. You've probably been keeping a track of it on your diaries, but just in case you've forgotten, I've written it on the board here. The Outlaw will take place this year on Sunday, July the 1st, which means from next week, the 23rd of April, you have 10 weeks until race day. And I wanted to give you some things to be thinking about, some things I think are particularly important for you right now with 10 weeks to go. So I'm just going to get my little pointer here. Alright, so the first and most important thing is the type of training that you need to be doing. Now, there are lots of different training programs, and you could read several different magazines and several different websites and probably find different ones, but these are some of the elements of training that I've found have worked for me and my athletes over the past 15 years, and I now have nearly 200 successful athletes who've crossed the finish line in an Ironman, and I think we've only had 1 or 2 people who've actually failed to get there, so that's a pretty good hit rate. So here we go then. Obviously this is an Ironman, and you have to do some pretty long distances in comparison to most triathlons, so you need to get your body ready for them. Yes, it's perfectly possible to do an Ironman having ridden no more than 60 or 70 miles. The same, for running, it's possible to run an Ironman marathon having not done that much long running. But I think if you want to get the best performance, you really need to give your body the opportunity at some stage to get used to biking up to 7 hours. Not every weekend, but maybe once or twice. Okay, if you're riding 5 hours now, inject a 6-hour ride in and a 7-hour ride maybe every odd weekend. Likewise with the running, now you see I've put maximum 2.5 hours there. I think that once you know you can run 2.5 hours, you don't need to be doing it every weekend. And that's why I've put this little caution note here, okay, exclamation mark. So, how would I do it? You still need to keep the running volume. If you can do, I would be doing what I call double run days. So perhaps you run 45 minutes in the morning, and later on in that day you run for 90 minutes. So you've got over 2.25 hours worth of running there. Gives you a chance to recover in between, and one of the most important things that you need to consider at this stage is avoiding injury. And when you get tired in a long run, often your technique goes, your cadence drops, your posture deteriorates, and that's when little injuries can start. So if you can keep fresh when you're running, and that's the reason why I don't like people to run for 2.5 hours too often. Also, because it just takes so long to recover, has a negative effect on training that follows. So by all means keep the running volume up, by all means get at least one run in there of 2.5 hours, but not too much. Likewise with the swimming, I would say that if you can swim 4K on a regular basis, that's fine. Once you get the opportunity to be swimming outdoors, so probably at the end of April, middle of May, when the water gets a bit warmer and the air temperature gets a bit warmer, then head outdoors. You definitely need to be doing that once a week to get used to swimming in a wetsuit and to get used to things like navigation and weeds and all sorts. Although at home pier point, navigation is not going to be too much of an issue. You basically got to swim up one side, across the lake and back down the other. Okay. Some other stuff you want to be doing, I would think you need to be working at thresholds. Now there are two. There's an aerobic type of threshold, sometimes known as the first turn point. That's going to be just above your race pace. I would think it's probably a good idea to spend a lot more time above this level here than it is at the second one there, anaerobic threshold. But I would be doing at least one session a week with something like 10 times 3 minutes plus 2-minute recovery. Okay, that's around 90%. You might not see the relevance of that for Ironman, where the intensity is definitely not that high, but the higher your threshold, the bigger the ceiling you've got to work under, and if you have to go into headwind or up a hill, then the bigger the ceiling you've got, the less chance you're going on into the red zone, less chance you've got of fatiguing early. Definitely do some running off the bike and get used to that. You only need to do 15 or 20 minutes. Do it after your long runs. Occasionally throw in a short hard ride and then put a longer run after it. So you might do an hour and a half at quite a high tempo and then do an hour and a half run for a long break. But what I don't like particularly is a long ride followed by a long run. Yes, there are people that do it, but an 8-hour day is going to take you so long to recover, it's probably going to mean you miss 3 or 4 days of decent training. So you might want to consider the costs and benefits of that. Okay, some other things. Race strategy. Think about this now. I'm going to come back to that in a future video, but you need to be thinking about your physical performance at certain points of the race, i.e. heart rate, intensity, etc. What's going through your head at certain points in the race, and nutrition. Course knowledge. If you don't know the course yet, it's a good opportunity or a good chance to find out in advance of the race day. Go up and have a look. It'll be worth it for the weekend to ride around the course and run on the course. You probably aren't going to be able to get to swim there, so I would definitely recommend doing a recce. For kit, things that I think you need to start doing now are riding your race bike and getting used to your bike position. And if you haven't had a bike fit that gives you the optimal position, get one done ASAP. The clothing that you're going to wear on race day, make sure you've got it now and you start wearing it in training, at least so you've worn it a few times before race day, so you know it fits and doesn't chafe. And finally, you should already, but if you haven't already, make sure you get used to the nutrition that they have on the course. It's likely to be high five. Start using it, and if you're not using their nutrition, make sure that you're comfortable with the ones that you're choosing to use. And finally, some admin. I would assume that most people have booked their accommodation locally, but if you haven't, get it done now. What you don't want to do is a few weeks before find that you're staying 40-50 miles away because you didn't book your hotel in time. Make sure you know how long it's going to take to travel up there. If you take 4 or 5 hours to get up there on the Saturday, then you've got the race briefing, you've got to race around, it gives you no wiggle room if something goes wrong, if you've got a mechanical and you need to replace something. So I would always advocate getting there on the Friday night, and I would always advocate not rushing off directly after the race, so taking another day's holiday, staying on the Monday, coming to the finishing prize giving presentation on the Monday and having a nice relaxed time. Okay, so that's it for the moment. I am going to put all of these documents onto a website, the URL of which is going to appear right below me in just a second. So I'll give you the username and the password and the URL. You can go there and get the documents. There will be other videos coming shortly, so thanks, happy training, stay healthy, be consistent, and I'll see you again soon.